So today we're going to be talking on a topic called how do you cut the bonds of rebirth according to the Ghatikara Sutta, Samyutta Nikaya 2.24. So this is an interesting topic because this has rebirth, Punarbhava, Punarbhava in Sinhala we call. So we are reborn once we die. Everybody who dies supposed to be reborn. Everybody who is born has to die one day. So it's so connected. So what are the bonds of rebirth? So that's an interesting thing to discuss. So the sutta's name is, once again I want to mention, it's Ghatikara Sutta. Ghatikara was a man at the Ghatikara was a deity at the Shakyamuni Buddha's time, our Buddha's time, but Ghatikara was the chief benefactor to the previous full Buddha. You may know the 28 Buddhas. Who was before Shakyamuni Buddha. He was Kashyapa Buddha, right? Kashyapa Buddha. So he was the chief benefactor of the Kashyapa Buddha. Now what happens is, it's very interesting, this Ghatikara was reborn in a pure abode. You know, like in the Buddhist teachings, we already talked about this thing a couple times. There are 31 places a being is to be reborn. 31 places when we die. We are one of them. 4 hells, 6 heavens, the place where humans live, and then 16 6 heavens, 4 hells, the place where humans live, 6 heavens, 16 material Brahma worlds, and 4 immaterial Brahma worlds. So this Ghatikara, who was the chief benefactor of the previous Kashyapa Buddha, he was reborn as a Brahma in one of the material Brahma worlds. We call them, there are 5 particular material Brahma worlds, we call them Suddhavasas. That means anyone who is going to be reborn in one of them is going to attain Nibbana. Let's say in case that someone who cannot attain Nibbana in this world, and that person is going to die and reborn in one of the 5 Brahma worlds, and then going to attain Nibbana in one of those pure, we call them pure abodes, or Suddhavasas. So anyways, now what happens in the sutta, it's a long sutta. I guess it has more than 7-8 verses. I don't want to read all the Pali stanzas and the meaning. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to read most interesting stanzas, maybe a couple, and then to talk about the importance of the sutta. What happens is, now Ghatikara is a Brahma. It's like one of the, we call him like a Deva. Standing to one side, the god Ghatikara recited this verse in the Buddha's presence. Now this happens at the Gautama Buddha, Shakyamuni Buddha's time. Now, surprisingly, our Gautama Buddha was a friend of him when he was Ghatikara. His name was Jyotipala. Now, Shakyamuni Buddha was Jyotipala at that time. He was a Brahmin, like a high caste person in the Indian society. This one was a potter who was making pots and jars, so someone like that. But Jyotipala, who was not interested about the Buddha, for Shakyamuni Buddha, I don't know what happened. But anyway, Ghatikara was very interested, but he couldn't attain Nibbana in that life. So anyways, what happens at the end, they say, they share a nice statement. That's how it was when those friends of all met again. Both of them have developed themselves and bear their final body. Now, Ghatikara is going to attain Nibbana in that one of the pure abodes, and Buddha is already attained Nibbana. So they already done, but they are meeting in two different, realms, but in the human world. So let's say what happens in the sutta. Now, Ghatikara says there were 7 monks who were born in one of the Brahma worlds called Aviha, and then why they were able to be born in the Aviha Brahma world was that they ended greed, lobha, and dosa, greed and hatred. That's how they have been able to be reborn in this Aviha Brahma world. We call them Akanitta, Sudassana, Sudassa, Atappa, Aviha. So the 5th one, Aviha, is very interesting because everyone who goes to Aviha definitely going to attain Nibbana. Sometimes, for some individuals who could not make their rebirth in Aviha Brahma world, they had to transition from Akanitta to Atappa for some time. So Aviha is very certain for someone to attain Nibbana. It looks like that if how can I say? If someone wants to shoot a very big target, but definitely sometimes can make that happen. But then what happens, that person can go to another type of a place, but similar, but not that standardized, but still trying to be born in that particular place, still trying to hit that goal. So Aviha is the famous goal of many, but sometimes many can. So they're gonna switch between Akanitta, Sudassana, Sudassa, Atappa. But anyway, so Ghatikara came from Aviha Brahma world, and he also says that there were 7 monks who were reborn in that place too. And then Buddha asked a question, Shakyamuni Buddha asked a question from him. Kecha atarung sangang machu dehiyang suduttarang kehitva manusang dehang dibbang yogang upaccha gunti. Who are those who have crossed the bog, death's domain so hard to pass, who after having behind the human body have risen above celestial yokes? Now, in short, I would say, so who are the individuals who have crossed the samsara by cutting the bonds? Now, the bonds, I would say, in simple Pali, Sanyojana. Now, in our day-to-day life, you could have, listened to many talks about monks and other people. They're saying that we have to get over greed, anger, and ignorance. So that is specifically for this life, right? So we are struggling this from the birth to the end. Whenever you are very conscious, then ever since you are conscious that this is really give me a hard time. So greed, anger, and ignorance. It's pretty easy. Like when you are greedy about something, then what happens? You're trying to defend yourself or somebody else, so your anger can arise, and then you never know what's going to happen. That's called ignorance. But Sangyojanas are something much expansive. Let's say it's something about our samsara, samsara, the cycle of lives. So the reason why we are in the samsara is there are 10 bonds or fetters to which we have not been able to get over, in completeness. There are 10. So the first 5, they are called lower fetters, and the next 5 we call higher fetters. That means the first 5 we have a normal challenge, but the last 5 we have a bigger challenge. So let's take a look at of them, because that's what Buddha asks from Ghatikara. Why those monks were able to, how come those monks have been able to be reborn there? What have they done? So he's asking from another Brahma called Ghatikara, who is already now in the Abhiha world, Brahma world. So I think you may have heard these 10. The first 5 are Sakkaya Ditti, Vichikicca, Silapata Paramasa, Kamaraga Patika. So the first fetter or bond that we have to get over is ego. I would say in simple English, personality belief. I, me, myself, thinking. Conventionally, we need to have this mentality. Let's say I have my this thing, I have my car, I have my house, I have my this and that. But ultimately, we know none of this is mine. What if I die today and I don't carry anything? I just leave anything behind. So conventionally, yes, but ultimately, no. That's why Buddha says the truth is not one fold, the truth is twofold. Let's say, now some people say, we don't need to earn money, we don't need to make money, we don't need to study, we will die. So it's pretty bad, Buddha says, no, we need to do things that need to survive to an extent. That we don't go to greed, we don't go to anger, we don't go to ignorance. But whenever we are involved with making such a life, we also should know that one day we will pass all these things, we will go behind all these things. So those two things have to go hand in hand. So anyways, the first fetter in our samsara life, samsaric journey, that we need to get over is this personality belief, I would say ego. We need to, supervise, monitor the times and days and how our ego takes us over. Otherwise, we will be in trouble. So a person who wants to cut the first bond, first fetter in the samsara. So let's say if someone really wants to stop samsaric journey, has to first approach this ego fetter. So you're gonna cut ego first. Cutting ego doesn't mean you're gonna cut with a pair of scissors. That means you're gonna lower your ego. Lower all the time. Think about why I'm like this, why I'm so like this, why I'm so into that thing. So this is something conventional, at the same time ultimate. So work on that. First fetter or the bond. The second bond that we need to cut is Vichikicca, doubts. I think we all live in a world which is very doubtful in today's time. The reason is that the reason being that the people that we make as friends are not sometimes trustworthy. They can cheat you. We never know what's going to happen. But we think the world is safe, but it might not be. But there are 8 doubts about some spiritual stuff, like doubts about the Buddha, doubts about his doctrine, teaching, doubts about the monks or monastic community, doubts about the previous life, future life, doubts about Paticca Samuppada, right? So there are such kind of 8 doubts. So we need to get over those doubts. I mean, how can we get over those doubts? By studying what they are, by sharing our knowledge with someone who really can give us the knowledge, by further trying to verify what's going on. So we can do that. Otherwise, we are in a forest of jungle of doubts all the time. So much insecure, and then always trying to be very ruminating about stuff. That's the second fetter or the bond. Third one, Silapata Paramasa. That means, how do you call that? Unnecessary desires towards rites and rituals. Like we know in our culture, in others' cultures, there are different rites and rituals. But we should not be like when it comes to spirituality. Let's say when we talk about Sri Lankan culture, we know, especially these Buddhist cultures, we know we have a lot of rituals, right? But we should not be a victim of the rites or rituals. The rites and rituals are there to keep the interest going, but not to end up in those rites or rituals. So the main thing is studying and then understanding, lowering our ego and stuff, being mindful and trying to understand conventional truth and the ultimate truth. That's the third fetter. And then kamaraga and patigha, lust and hatred, two of the biggest issues in our life. So are we really understanding where we are with some different objects or people, objects, when it comes to kamaraga, like lust, and thereby we're trying to defend, we're trying to protect, we're trying to do a lot of things because we are angry, because we don't like things get changed, people get changed. If we can get over those two, those are the then fourth and fifth ones. And then ruparaga, that means a desire to be reborn in one of the material Brahma world that we talked about, one of the 16. Aruparaga, desire to be reborn in one of the 4 immaterial Brahma worlds. Mana is measuring. Now most of us, when we are not really in the present, the right mindset, when we are not in the moment, right moment, then what happens? We're going to measure, we're going to size up. Okay, how am I? A lot of people, they're going to compare them with other people. Then what happens? They end up with a lot of frustration. Oh, I haven't been able to do that. I haven't been able to be like that. So, but they never think about what they have in terms of what others have. That's a good thing. So I think that comparison should work the other way around. Let's say, okay, you are educated, maybe you have good friends, you have a good family, at least you have those things. But when you look at other people, they might not have it, so you have to be happy. It's like what happens to some people who are sick. I know some people think, okay, I'm okay because I don't have a cancer, I don't have this thing, I don't have that thing. Compared to my friends who have a very bad sickness, I'm much better. I don't think people think that way in their normal life unless they are sick. So it's a good way when you compare. The best thing is not to compare what you don't have with other people, rather what you have with what others don't have. That would be a good thing, not to tell other people that you don't have it, that I have it, but that's a good thing. And then if you really think that somebody else has something really good, then you can think about whether I want to make that happen or not. So mana is like measuring. Uddacha is restlessness. Now the reason why we want to meditate, why we want to do walking meditation, why we want to do breath meditation, why we want to do loving kindness meditation, is to keep our mind relaxed. Because our mind is always working all the time. When we are in sleep, sometimes it works. So you can't sleep. You don't have even you say you had a sleep, but in the morning you might find that it was going, because there were a lot of dreams happening at that time. So when you are dreaming that night, look, in the morning what happens to you, that you feel you haven't slept because your subconsciousness had been working, right? That's why Uddacha is a problem, because we need to keep our mind rested, relax. That's a good thing. Before you need to focus it, you need to relax it. You can't. That's why I say, if someone wants to meditate, have a good sleep before, have a good rest, and then come over to meditation. It's pretty good. Otherwise, you will feel doze off and then really uncomfortable. I mean, anybody, all of us, if you don't have a good sleep, if you don't have a good time, otherwise, it has to have kind of a preparatory, things, right? Uddacha. Avijja is ignorance. Now, all these are fetters, right? Bonds, I would say. That's why we are in the samsara. Avijja is the biggest bond in our samsaric journey. That's why we are reborn. What is avijja? Not knowing the Four Noble Truths. I think you know what they are, right? Dukkha, Arya Satya. The Noble Truth called suffering. I would say dukkha. Dukkha Samudaya Arya Satya, the noble truth called the cause of dukkha. And then Dukkha Nirodha Arya Satya, the noble truth called the cessation, ending of the dukkha. Dukkha Nirodha Patipada Gamini Arya Satya, the noble truth called the path leading to the ending or cessation of the dukkha. So we all know technically what they are, but have you been able to apply them into our normal life? Now, when it comes to our pains and pleasures, frustrations, good and bad, have you ever put them into those occasions, those situations? Then only we understand, oh, this is dukkha satya. Now this is why it came on my way. This is why I went through that period. Then only we can at least try to have a practical understanding about the Four Noble Truths. So if someone doesn't know, at least technically, about the Four Noble Truths, they are into avijja. So these are the bonds. So when we want to stop the samsara, we need to work on each of them. Okay, so that's the main thing of the sutta. Now, Buddha asks, I guess this is what happened to all of these 7 monks, and the Ghatikara Deva says the names of those monks: Upaka, Palaganda, Pukkusati, Baddiya, Badadeva, Bahudanti, Pingya. So those are the monks who were reborn in the Abhiha Brahma world. And then Buddha says, you speak well of them who have let go the snares of Mara. Now, actually, these are the, snares of Mara, what do you call, praise. When you get disillusion, when you get, taken over by any lust or greed, hatred, delusion, every time you have to think it is Mara. So Mara is having a good time and we are lost. But we have to have a good challenge with him. I don't know whether he's a man or he's a person or not, concept. But every time, if you can empower yourself, that I'm not gonna do that. I'm really strong. I know what to do. This is what I think. Maybe it's not practical, but I know what to do. And if you are in that stand, you are not going to fall prey to Mara's these 10 bonds. So Mara has all these 10 bonds. Whose teaching did they understand to cut the bonds of freedom? Buddha questions Ghatikara about those 7 monks who were born in the Abhiha Brahma world. What teaching did they follow to be reborn there? And Ghatikara says, none other than the Blessed One. It's yours teaching, none other than your instruction. It was your teaching that they understood to cut the bonds of rebirth. And now the deity Ghatikara says the main important teaching, what helped them to understand from the Buddha. Yatta namancha rupancha asesan uparujjati tante dhamman idhanyoya achidum bhava bandhananti. Where name and form cease with nothing left over, understanding this teaching, they cut the bonds of rebirth. So what is name and form? Nama and Rupa. So this is what we have to always reflect upon. Now, 5 aggregates, right? Panchaskanda, right? This is fundamental teaching. Now, if you further divide, break down the 5 aggregates, you can see there is only 2 things, Nama and Rupa. Now, what are they? I would say Rupakanda, form, we have a form. And then Vedanakanda, we have feeling. And then Sanyakanda, we have perception. Sankarakanda, we have formation. Vijnanakanda, we have consciousness. Now, although you can see there are 5, but they are literally 2. That means Rupa is taken separately, that's called Rupa. The rest is taken as Nama. So, if anybody of us can understand by filtering, by knowing everything, analyzing, synthesizing, okay, there's nothing but Nama and Rupa, Nama and Rupa. So if you can know the difference between this is nama, this is rupa, you can take this to any being, right? Any being. But if something is not inanimate, you can use the 4 elements, right? So solidity, patavi, apo means fluidity, and tejo is temperature, and vayu is motion. Let's say this light, it's solid. If it is a burn, you can see some fluid. If it is overly turned on, you can see it's heated, and there is motion. That's how the light is coming through, right? But when it comes to beings, it's not the 4 elements basically. It's about 5 aggregates, and then it's just nama rupa. Okay, so by knowing the nama rupa, the difference between nama and rupa, the connection between nama and rupa as well, these 7 monks were able to cut the bond, those 10 fetters, so that they ended. And then he was telling his story, past story. In the past, I was a potter. That means at the time of the previous Buddha, Kashyapa, Vebalinga, called Ghatikara. I took care of my parents as a lay follower of Buddha Kashyapa. So he took care of his parents. Looks like he was a single man. He did not marry. I refrained from sexual intercourse. I was celibate, spiritual. We lived in the same village. In the past, I was your friend. We lived in the same village. You and I, now you are the Buddha, but you were Jyotipala at that time, and I was Ghatikara. In the past, we were friends. I am the one who understands that these 7 monks have been free. I know those monks who live with me there in the Aviha Brahma world. With a complete ending of greed and hate, they have crossed over, clinging to the world. They have done their life. Okay, now this is what happens, and at the end, what happens is that he says, Eva metang purananang sahayanang ahu sangamu ubinnang bhavitathanang sarirantima dharinanti. It's a happy statement. Ghatikara feels that we were friends in the past life, and then we met again in the same way. Let's say you have been the Buddha, and I am a Brahma Deva called Ghatikara. Both of us have ended the samsara, cut the bonds of samsara. But it's pretty nice that we were friends in the previous life, and then we were born in this life, reborn in this life, after cutting all the bonds in the samsara. So that's the sutta. So mainly in this sutta, what we need to understand is what are the bonds in the samsara, how we can cut them. And the story goes between Ghatikara Brahma and the Buddha. The contents, if we take a look at the contents of the sutta, Buddha was kind of curious about 7 monks who have been reborn in the Aviha Brahma world where Ghatikara was living. So that's the main understanding idea of the whole sutta. Basically, what are the bonds that tie us into samsara, how we can cut them. We need to cut them. Basically, we are struggling with raga dosa moha, lobha dosa moha, greed, hatred, and delusion. But we need to understand this is only one life in the samsara. So you have to take everything, the whole samsara. If we can take the whole samsara, then we understand that we need to specifically work on these 10 fetters. Otherwise, we might be in trouble. I think some people, they are misunderstood about the word called bhava. Now, when they talk about, they say, okay, in the next bhava, I'm going to be like this and that, I am like this. No, bhava is this. We are already in the bhava. But what happens is the jati. Next life, I'm going to be reborn in a jati. Right? There are different jatis. Manussa, Deva, Tirachana. Right? So when we talk about the bhava simply means the samsara. It's a samsara. That's why it says puna bhava. So puna bhava means somebody is to be reborn in the samsara. Now, we are in the samsara now. If we are not in the bhava, so we are done. But if you really want to say next life, my next life, we can say it's my jati, my next jati. I can be an animal, I can be a deva, I can be a human, so and so forth. So it's pretty interesting. So we are beings in the samsara. We want to cut the bonds or the fetters of the samsara. So there are 10 fetters that we have to be really, working towards. Otherwise, we never know what they are, and then we are carried away by those fetters. Any questions? Rebirth or reincarnation? Make sense? Okay, so then we can transfer good karma to the departed relatives and the deities. So may all the good karmas we've been collecting, accumulating so far, be shared by all the departed relatives who passed away in the name of all of us. In this life, in the samsara, as we just talked about, samsara is a long journey, and we never know how many times we've been born, reborn, dying, coming out. So may all those beings be happy and peaceful. May they all attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Idammi ñāti nang mutu sukita huntu ñātayo idammi. Sukita huntu ñātayo idammi ñāti nang mutu sukita huntu ñātayo. And we have a custom in our system, in our practice, it's to share all the good karmas with the deities, not even the devas, but also with the brahmas as well. May all the good karmas we've been accumulating from the beginning be shared by all the kind brahmas, devas and nagas. May they be happy and peaceful. May they protect all of us, our family, friends, everybody in our life. We know, we don't know. May they be happy and peaceful. May they attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Ittavatacha ammehi sambatang punya sampadang sabbe deva anumodantu sambasang patti sindhya. Ittavatacha ammehi sambatang punya sampadang sabbe bhuta anumodantu sambasang patti sindhya. Ittavatacha ammehi sambatang punya sampadang sabbe satta anumodantu sambasang patti sindhya. Akasattha ca bummattha deva naga mahindika punyantang anumoditva chirang rakkhanthu loka sasanam. Akasattha ca bummattha deva naga mahindika punyantang anumoditva chirang rakkhanthu desanam. Akasattha ca bummattha deva naga mahindika punyantang anumoditva chirang rakkhanthu mang paranti. Finally, let's make a great wish. May all the good karmas we've been accumulating so far help all of us to attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Abhivadana silisse nichang vaddha prachayino chattaro dhamma baddhanti ayuvannu sukhang balang. Ayurarogya sampatti sagga sampatti mevacha ato nibbana sampatti iminati saminchatu. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Hey, let's respect the Buddha by bowing down to 3 times.